Hello beautiful people, it's Steph here if you don't already know, and on this channel I just talk about all things careers and all things lifestyle. And in today's video I'm going to be giving you the tea about qualification. Like honestly, people have been in my DMs, people have been messaging me at work. I've just had questions from left, right and centre about where's my head at with qualification, and honestly I still don't really know, but I figured if I make this video talking through how I'm going to think about qualification, it would A, be helpful for me because it will force me to actually think, but B, it's going to be helpful for anyone else out there who's going through the qualification process, and also just aspiring solicitors in general, or anyone who cares about this qualification thing, right? So if you like this type of content, please do make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and let's get straight into the video. Okay, so first things first, in order for me to kind of think about qualification, I'm doing this thing called lifestyle design. And I think the concept of this originally, correct me if I'm wrong people, but where I first personally saw it was in the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Now, it may have been spoken about before then, I don't particularly know, but that's where I found out about it. Yes, the reason why you would use something like lifestyle design is because you shouldn't just be living to survive, you should be living to thrive, right? You should have control and design over what it is you want to do, and you should create the life that you want for yourself. So I quite like that concept, as I'm sure many of you will know if you follow me on Instagram. I love to do some goal setting, I love to review my goals, like I'm big on that sort of thing. So lifestyle design, right up my alley, and I feel like it works really well for this kind of qualification process because it helps me think about what do I want to do as a lawyer. So that's a really good way to think about it. So lifestyle design actually has 4 kind of steps. So your first step is for you to define, so that's kind of looking at what your goal is and all that sort of stuff. Your second step is for you to explore, so you kind of like either talk to different people or you just get the experience yourself to work out what you want to do. Your third step is something called decide, act, pivot. So you actually just take the decision, like you take the leap to do something, you act on it, like you put those goals into action, and if it doesn't work then you pivot, and then like you do that whole thing all over again. And your fourth step is to reflect, so that's the review process. So I'm actually going to start a little bit backwards, and I'm going to start with the 4th step, which is the reflect steps, because I think it's going to be helpful for me to reflect on my original kind of legal goal, which was to get a training contract, right? For the longest time, like for as long as I knew I wanted to become a lawyer, and as soon as I found out that one of the routes to become a lawyer in the UK was the whole kind of TC route, that was my goal. My goal was to just do that and complete that. So I want to review how that goal has been for me, and I'm going to think about things like, was I chasing the right thing? Like, was it right for me to chase getting a TC? Who did I actually become? Like, who is Steph now that I've accomplished or completed or nearly completed that particular goal that I was chasing, right? What did I learn about myself? Am I proud of myself? Am I happy? Like all that sorts of stuff. So let me just take it question by question, but I'll pop all of the questions I'm going to be asking myself on the side as well, because like I said, I want this to be helpful for you guys as well. So if you want to go through this process for yourselves, here are all the questions that you can ask yourself. So first question, was I chasing the right thing? With the benefit of hindsight, I would say that I do wish, and I think I've said this before, but I do wish that I had done a little bit more research into the different ways that I could become a lawyer. I don't think I was wrong in my overall goal of chasing, becoming a lawyer, right? I think that was right. I think it fits my skill set. I've really enjoyed what I've been doing so far, and I believe I'll continue enjoying what I'm doing, right? So I don't regret that particular goal, but I do think that I kind of rushed into, oh, I need to do humanities IB because I didn't do A-level. Oh, I need to study law at university. Oh, I need to get a TC like before I graduate, that sort of thing. I do kind of feel like I rushed a little bit into that, and maybe I didn't explore as much as I could have, especially given like the opportunities that I've had in life and stuff like that. So I think with the benefit of hindsight, like I maybe wasn't necessarily chasing all of the right things, but like I said, I'm still very grateful for where I'm at now. I'm at my dream firm. Like I couldn't ask for anything more. I'm literally living the prayer that I prayed for, do you know what I mean? So I'm good and I'm happy, but that's kind of what I would do differently if I could maybe go back in time. Who did I become in the process of achieving this goal? So I think I've become a lot more confident in who I am as a person. I have always been capable, right? Like I've always had pretty decent grades. I've been working since I was 14, so I've always been good at like holding down a job, doing what I need to do, like all that kind of stuff. But even though factually I've always been good at that, I within myself haven't always believed that, right? And it comes from so many different things. Like we're not going to get into the reasons why I'm not necessarily always that confident, but I think over the course of this 2 years, I have definitely grown in confidence. And for the most part, it's just been because I had to. Like, there isn't really a lot of space in the legal industry for you to be second guessing yourself all of the time, because especially with commercial law, from what I've seen anyway, the best lawyers are those who believe in themselves, because then the clients also believe in them, and then things kind of work better, if that makes sense. So I feel like I've definitely grown as a way more confident person. And I think I've also become better with what I do with this platform, with Success with Steph, because in me kind of sharing my knowledge with you guys, in me kind of like making content and all that sorts of stuff, it's actually forced me to make sure that I understand certain things that perhaps I would have glossed over if I didn't have this platform. So that's been really, really good for me as well. And I think it's probably also, as a third thing, made me a little bit more self-aware. And that's a bit of a funny one, because I've always been a self-aware person. Like, I've always been very critical about myself and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's made me more self-aware in the sense that I have a better understanding of what my skills are and what kind of tasks I can do in the kind of legal field that sit really well with my skills and help me grow as an individual. And then also, which tasks do I need to work on? So I'll give you a really good example. Like, something like attention to detail, right, is a skill that all lawyers need to be good at. That is not my top skill. Like, it's not something that I'm inherently just good at and I don't have to work on or anything like that. It's something that I've actually had to work really hard on, and I've literally had to sit down with like supervisors and be like, look, I don't feel like I'm getting this attention to detail thing. What do you advise I do? And they've been so great. Like, they've given me really good tips, like, oh, print out red lines, or use red pens, or read it backwards, things like that, to just help me build that skill, because I know it's something that I haven't been that good at. So I think that's definitely like who I've become in terms of achieving my goals. I've been able to sit back and say, okay, if my goal is I want to finish this TC successfully, what do I need to do to be able to do that? Well, I need to be able to meet certain skills, right? Certain competencies. And I know that this particular competency, this particular skill is not something that I'm good at. How am I going to work on it? That sort of thing. So that's been really, really good for me. What key lessons have I learned? Ooh, do you know what? There's been a few. There have definitely been a few. And I'll probably have to do a whole separate video on like the key lessons that I've learned over the course of my TC. But for the purposes of this like lifestyle design and this reflection section in particular of the lifestyle design, I think the biggest key lesson that I've learned is, first of all, it's really, really important to talk. And it's important to talk about your job with your peers, right? And not just with your peers, but like also with, you know, partners, associates, like everybody who's like above you or kind of like alongside you as well. You should just be talking about what you do. And I say this from the perspective of I'm Ghanaian, like my background is Ghanaian, right? And typically in our culture, like we don't openly talk about a lot of things. We're very like polite people and all that kind of stuff, but we may not necessarily talk about like what work is like or what we're doing, because we kind of feel like those things are personal things. Like, it's not really things that we should be sharing. But over the course of the 2 years, I've come to learn that you grow so much better and you learn so much more when you're actually discussing with your colleagues like what you're doing, obviously within the confines of confidentiality and this, that, whatever, because there might be, you know, Chinese walls and all that kind of stuff, so you can't actually always talk about the details of everything. But even just general things of like, oh, this is the type of work I've done in this seat. If I didn't speak about that with certain trainees, I wouldn't know what type of work to go to my supervisor and say, oh, I want to do this type of work, if that makes sense. Because if I don't talk to anyone, how would I know that? Do you get what I mean? So I think that's one of the biggest lessons for me that I've learned. And I feel like I had to learn that because of the cultural differences of like how I was raised and then how the legal field kind of is. I think the other key thing that I've learned is that the whole, this is a big one, but the whole like paralegal, trainee, NQ, senior associate, partner, counsel, whatever, like that whole hierarchy, that whole structure, it only exists in private practice. Like, nobody outside. So if people haven't trained in a private practice firm, they don't know what you're talking about. I.e., when you're emailing a client, even though in your email signature it probably says trainee or something of the sort, or it says not qualified or whatever, clients don't know what that means. Like, more time they actually just think you're the lawyer because you're the one speaking to them, which means a few things. It means you need to know what you're talking about. So like, I would always advise against just blindly sending out emails because someone has told you to send it. Make sure that you actually understand what is being said, because chances are if the client comes back to you because they have a question, they're going to come directly to you. They're not going to go to the senior associate who told you to send that email. So that's first of all. But also, it's just, again, better for your development. Like, it's really important to make sure that you're not just sitting there being a yes man. You're actually kind of putting in your thoughts, you are critiquing things if you don't think it's right. Like, feel confident to say, actually, I'm not too sure about this. And even if you're wrong in your critique, it's better for your understanding, because a good associate or a good partner will be like, oh, okay, no, well, what you've said is actually wrong. This is actually the right thing, but this is probably what you were thinking. This is why what you said is wrong, blah, blah, blah. So they will actually teach you and you learn. So that's really, really cool. So that's that. Am I happy and am I proud of myself? 100% yes. Yes, I am, because I don't have this exact statistics in front of me, and I'll see if I can find them and put them up on screen, but like, there aren't that many black people in the law. There aren't that many black women in the law. Even at the junior phase, because I know a lot of people kind of look at like NQs and trainees and stuff like that and think like, oh yeah, like racism in the legal sector is solved because there's 50% of black trainees. I just made that number up, by the way. I don't know if that's real, and I actually don't think that is real, but you get what I mean. Like, even though there's a greater number of junior people in the legal section who are of color, ethnic minorities, blah, 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 there's still not a lot at the senior end. Do you get what I mean? So I know how difficult it is to get into this industry. I know how hard I have worked to get here. I know like the personal battles that I faced, all that sort of stuff. And I'm here, like I've done well. So I'm very proud of myself in that respect. I also feel like I have made very proactive efforts to grow as an individual. So I'm someone who, when I get feedback, I tend to take it very well. Like, I'll be like, yeah, tell me what I did wrong, because I don't want to do that wrong again. Like, I'm ready to hear all of the criticism and the critiques that you might have, because I want to be better. So I'm definitely really proud of myself in that sense. I'm also quite happy because one thing that I did right from the beginning was being quite clear about my boundaries. So it meant that, yes, I have definitely had some late nights. I'm not going to lie and say I've never worked past 7 p.m. I definitely have. But A, it's not actually been the majority of the time for me personally. And B, I've never really felt like people were just taking the mick, or even if people were taking the mick, I have felt comfortable to kind of push back and be like, actually, this is something that's going to be done tomorrow, because, you know, it's not really that urgent, right? That sort of thing. So I'm very happy with myself in that sense, because I think I've found a good balance between growing and making sure that I'm taking on good work and like I'm learning, but also I'm a human being and I don't have the capacity to work 16 hours a day every single day. Like, it's not sustainable. So I'm quite happy with that balance. And the final question to kind of look at in the reflect section is, am I giving back to the world? And I mean, that's a resounding yes for me. Even without Success with Steph, because I think Success with Steph is probably the main way that I'm giving back in terms of in the legal field. Even without that, like, I'm more than happy to always talk to younger people about what it is that I do, to just kind of inspire them. Like, even if they don't want to become lawyers, I want them to know that they can actually do whatever it is that they want, regardless of their background. Someone is going to help them get there, and they are capable. They can do what they want. And I think that's something that I've always been doing. So I'm really, really happy with that. So I think overall, if I'm reflecting on what my initial kind of legal goal was in terms of completing my TC, I'm happy. Like, I've done what I needed to do. And I would be very happy to kind of say that, yeah, I've ticked this off and I've done it well, I've done it right. Do you get what I mean? Like, yes, I did have a couple of things that I would want to maybe go back and do differently, but overall, I think I've done a decent job. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm quite happy. So reflection section, it's good, it's all done. So let's move back to step one of the whole like lifestyle design thing. And step one is actually design. And like I said, this is how I would actually set my goal. So if I'm thinking about designing my qualification goal, so where do I want to qualify into, these are the questions that I would be asking myself. And again, I would just say, pause this, take a quick screenshot, because I'm going to talk through my answers to kind of help myself, but I want this to be helpful for you too. So first question, I find it difficult when I don't have a goal to kind of just say, what do I want to do, right? Because I'm someone who, I like a lot of things. I like to learn a lot of things. I like a lot of different skills. A lot of things make me interested, right? So I find it easier to think about what I don't want as opposed to what I do want. And then I kind of narrow things down backwards and then work out, okay, based off of what's left, this is probably what you want to do. So if I think about what I don't want as a lawyer, right? I don't want to do contentious work. I don't even mind saying it because it's something I've said right from the beginning of my TC. I've not done a contentious seat. I've done there's an alternative kind of program that you can do that the SRA like signs off on. So I'm doing that alternative program so that I don't have to do 6 months in a contentious seat. So I know I don't want to do contentious work. And even amongst the transactional seats that I've done, there are some seats that work more with contentious teams than others. Again, I probably wouldn't want to be in those seats, right, in terms of qualification. So I would kind of cross that out. That's the first thing that I would eliminate. I think the second thing for me that I don't want to do is I don't want a team where there isn't varied work. Again, like I said, I'm the type of person who I like different things. I'm a very busy person, but I'm a very diverse person. You know, I like to dance. I have the dossier business. I do Success with Steph. I do the legal work. So like, there's a lot of different things that interest me. And I think even within the legal sector, I wouldn't want to qualify into a team where I'm just doing the same thing all the time. I understand that obviously within a deal there's like process, so you would typically be doing the same process over and over again. That's fine, but I would still want a variety, if that makes sense. So I don't think I would want a team that just kind of makes me feel like I'm literally just like ticking a box all the time and I'm just doing the same thing. I would want a little bit more variety. So that's another thing I don't want. Outside of that, to be honest, I'm pretty open, which I think can be good and bad. Good because, you know, I think sometimes, especially in the legal field, you don't actually know where things are going to end up. So sometimes it's fine to just kind of try things and then see if you like it. Bad because I feel like that kind of perspective works really well when you're training. So when I'm picking, you know, seats that I want to do 6 months in, I think it's fine to kind of be like, oh yeah, I'm not really sure if I'll like it or not, but let's just try it and see. When I'm qualifying, even though technically I know I can qualify into one area and technically move to another area if I really want to, like no one's going to beat me, I still kind of feel like it's a bit more of a final decision, do you know what I mean? So I do want to try and make sure that I am whittling it down as much as possible to ensure that I am doing the right thing for me. But essentially, those are the main things I don't want. I don't want contentious work, and I don't want to be doing the same thing all the time. I want a variety, right? What about my fundamental values? Now, I have my personal fundamental values, which do link quite a lot, to be honest. So I think what my work fundamental values are. I don't actually have work fundamental values, by the way. But my personal ones are things like, you know, empowering Black women, giving back to the world, sharing my knowledge, like all that sorts of stuff. And I think I'm kind of doing that in the legal space anyway. So I'm not too fussed about not having specific work fundamental values. Basically with that though, I do want to make sure that wherever I qualify into is somewhere that aligns with my fundamental values. So, I mean, this is again just a random example and it's not applicable to me because I just haven't done that, but I wouldn't want to say qualify into a team which, you know, actively works with clients who are known for, I don't know, like not helping the world or not helping the environment or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like I personally wouldn't want to do that because that doesn't align with my values. But that doesn't apply to me, so it's kind of cool. Other thing to think about is the kind of obstacles that I'm likely to face. So based on the teams that I've done debt finance, I've done capital markets, I've done private equity, and I'm now in project finance. And all 4 of these teams are places which, depending on whether the teams say they are looking to hire, I can technically say, you know, I want to apply for work in these places. And also in other firms as well, I can go to other firms and kind of say, these are the 4 areas that I have work experience in, and I'm looking for an NQ role in one of these practice areas. So those are the 4 areas that I kind of have under my belt. And for me, I think one of the main obstacles that I'm likely to face is the fact that I have done a lot of finance seats. And currently, with the way the markets are in London, so London being a financial hub, with a lot of different things, so with the kind of invasion of Ukraine by Russia, and also lately with the political instability at the moment in the UK, interest rates are doing a madness, and that is not good for the finance markets, or at least the finance markets in, yeah, it's not, that's not really that great for the finance markets, because it means that a lot of clients are kind of holding off to see when things are going to settle and whether it actually makes sense to do certain deals. Now, that is kind of being balanced out a little bit by the fact that as we get towards year end, and then again, when I'm actually qualifying, as we get towards financial year end, companies do tend to want to spend their budgets. So, you know, hopefully, all things being equal, that means things will pick up. But point being that right now, markets-wise, even though most companies are probably still going to be hiring, they're probably not going to be hiring as much as they usually would. So let's say, for example, a particular practice area normally hires like, I don't know, 5 NQs, right? Because of how the markets are, probably only going to be hiring 2. Obviously, that just increases competition, because if I want to go into that area and the same number of people are applying, but they're reducing the number of offers they're giving out, do you get what I mean? So there's that for me to think about. Other obstacles I'll face, to be honest, I think that's probably my biggest one, just the nature of the market at the moment. I think the one thing that I do have on my side is that the way the law firm works as a business is that they will always need NQs, right? You can't just have a team full of partners, you can't just have a team full of 6-year qualified associates, because A, when you're billing clients, a client is not going to be happy that a 6-year qualified associate was doing a DD report and was charged an extortionate amount for it. But B, you just need like a widespread in terms of your team. So firms do always need NQs to some varying degree. So I guess that's a good thing for me. And in terms of how I'm going to tackle that obstacle, I've kind of already started, but I think the main thing that I can do for now is just speak to the hiring partners to just see from their perspective, what are they thinking? Not in terms of what are they thinking about me, but like what are they thinking about the market? A, how long do they think this is going to last for? Because obviously a lot of the partners have been in the industry for a couple of decades, to be honest. You know, they've seen the 2008 crisis, they've seen other peaks and troughs in the market, so they can kind of have an understanding of, if this was to go on long term, what is the firm likely to do? If this is to be a short-term thing, what is the firm likely to do? So I've been asking those questions. And then I've also just been asking, in the next kind of hiring round, are you guys looking to hire or not? It's a very valid question to ask. I'm not asking, are you going to hire me? I just want to know generally, are you going to put out there that you're looking for some NQs to come? Because if, for example, a team that I wanted to join says they're not looking to hire at all, then I know that I either A, need to look elsewhere, or I need to think of a different team to join, right? So for me, I think those are the only kind of 2 ways to kind of tackle it. But based off of that, I think I just kind of need to think about the 4 practice areas that I've kind of done and what I'm currently doing, and just kind of whittle down from that what makes the most sense. Stage 2 of the lifestyle design is to explore. So there's only really kind of 2 things that you can do under here. You can either do kind of how I think of it as primary research or secondary research, right? So primary research would be you getting experience yourself. So for me, the course of these 2 years has been the primary research. Me sitting in each of these individual seats has been my primary research, because whilst I've been there, I've been able to see whether I like the culture of the team. I've been able to see the variety of work. I've been able to see, either from the NQs there or from other junior associates, what type of work would I actually be doing if I was to qualify, that sorts of thing. But the secondary research, which is what I'm kind of doing now, is just reaching out to people. So I've made a point to be speaking to a lot of the junior associates in the teams that I've been in, and then also my supervisors, and then also some partners if I've worked with them, things like that, to just kind of ask them different questions. And I know it can be quite helpful to have some of the questions that could be asked. So I will give you some of like the generic questions that I've been asking, but I would just say that all these questions get tailored basically. So I don't always ask these questions like verbatim, but they're generically around these things. And the way I think about my questions is, for me, when I'm thinking about qualification and I'm thinking about exploring, I'm thinking about 6 key things. So first thing I'm thinking about is the type of work and the quality of work. So who are the clients? What type of work would I be doing, right? Then I'm thinking about exit options if I do want to exit. Now, I don't know if I want to exit or not, but I think it's important to have that option open to you if it is something that you want to do. So it's just something that I'm thinking about. Then I'm thinking about practice interest, so just like how much I actually just like the team and that practice area. Then I'm thinking about lifestyle and hours. And when I say lifestyle and hours, I'm not talking about, you know, like I said, I don't want to ever work past 7 p.m, but I'm more talking about like boundaries and culture and all that sort of stuff. Like, how is that respected? Then I'm looking at the team and the people, and then I'm looking at the career growth. So this is my personal development. Now, with the team and the people, the only thing I would say here is that I don't think you should ever pick somewhere based off of the people specifically, because especially in the legal industry, people come and go like all the time. However, the team, especially from the top down, so especially from the partners down, is what makes up the culture. So I do try to think about that. And there are 4 main questions that I tend to kind of ask to ascertain those kind of 6 areas. So the first one is, I'm just going to read it off my phone. But the first one is, how do you see the practice developing over the next 5 years? Second one is, which key clients are you looking to either strengthen relationships with or engage over the next year? Third one is, What do you see the level of workflow being like now that the pandemic and effects of Brexit are over? Do you think you'll continue to be busy? Do you think the teams will have any plans to expand via lateral hires? And the fourth one is, what opportunities are there for secondments at the junior level? So those are the main questions that I tend to ask. Like I said, it wouldn't always be verbatim. I might tweak them depending on who I'm speaking to, but I hope that's helpful for you if you are also in the qualification process and you're looking for things to ask people as well because you're setting up calls. But that's my explore stage, and I'm still kind of in the explore stage now. So I can't really answer like where my head is at in terms of qualification because I'm in that explore stage. But once I'm done with that, then I'll move on to stage 3, which is decide, act, pivot. So with decide, act, pivot, what I intend to do once I get there is decide on what my area or areas are, because I can apply for more than one area. I don't only have to apply for one. And I'll act by making that decision known to the partners. So the kind of people that you want to be talking to, obviously your supervisor, if your supervisor is still there. But aside from them, there will always or usually be some kind of trainee liaison, so usually a trainee partner, right? So find out who that trainee partner is if you don't know, and speak to them. And then I would also say just anyone else who you've worked with who maybe you want to work with again when you qualify, it would be good to make it known to them, especially if you have a good rapport. So definitely speak to them and then just pivot if needed. If you speak to the trainee partner of a particular team and you find out that for XYZ reason they're just not hiring at all, and that was your dream team, you need to pivot, right? You need to either look at different firms and start speaking to legal recruiters and say this is the kind of work you're interested in, but it has to be at a different firm. Or if you want to stay at the firm that you're at, then you've got to think of a different practice area. So just kind of putting that into place. But like I said, I've not actually done that yet. So that's what I'm going to be doing once I figured out my explore stage. So that is how I'm going to be thinking about qualification. I hope that's actually answered the question for you guys, because I feel like every time I'm telling you, I don't really know. I don't know if you guys think I'm lying because you keep coming back and asking me again. I don't know. So I figured let me just record this video so I can literally break down step by step what I am doing to think about qualification right now. And I really hope this is helpful for you guys. If you like this kind of content, please do make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll be back again soon with another video.